Hi and welcome to PEP's new leadership series. In episode 1, we're very excited to be joined by Joanne Cluxton. Joanne is the HR director with Mercury. And I think, Joanne, just to start with, it's probably easier for you to describe the fantastic success story that Mercury is rather than me do it injustice. So maybe tell us a little bit about Mercury and where it's come from.
So Mercury was set up by two men, Joe Morgan and Frank O'Kane, 50 years ago this year. Set up as a small electrical mechanical company doing works around Dublin, and have grown it to what it is today, where we're in over 15 countries with a headcount of over 3,000 direct, and I think it's about 5,000 subcontractors at this stage. So over 8,000 people working for Mercury across Ireland, UK and Europe. Initially kicked off, as I said, electrical and mechanical works, but now we would work on a lot of large projects and ranging from civil, structural, main contractor, so not just the electrical and mechanical anymore.
That's such an incredible story, and it also brings with it incredible challenges, I suppose. And I mean, you're somebody who you've kind of developed your HR career with Mercury, so you've kind of seen the different stages of development. But what would you say are the biggest challenges you face for, you know, an organisation that has a location in 15 different countries?
So all companies, no matter what industry you're in at the moment, our people is the biggest challenge, and that's certainly the same for Mercury and has been for a number of years in getting people. But being, as you said, in over 15 different countries, you're trying to hire for people locally. And if it's a new country, we're not known there. So you're trying to get out there as early as possible to promote the company, what Mercury do, to try and attract locals, especially even, you know, the different language barriers on getting out. And, you know, a lot of our projects will be predominantly English speaking on them. But it is great to have that local knowledge, the local culture to bring onto the projects. From our point of view, even on a HR perspective, everywhere is different. So every country you go into, you have to get a whole new set of employment contracts. It's not just a standard contract. You're seconding people from, they might have worked for you in Germany and now they're transferring to Sweden for you, or whatever country it is you're going to next. And then all the HR legislations, the different policies and procedures, they then need to be generated for each of these countries that you go into. But people is the biggest challenge, and getting them. And you know, when we go into a country, our objective is to be there long term, but it depends on the project and if we can secure more work. So you could be moving people from one country to the next. So you know, someone might be in 2-3 different countries in 1 year. So trying to find people that are interested in traveling, and then we also have ones that want to stay put where they're based, and we can facilitate that as well.
And it's quite a complicated challenge, though, isn't it? Because like when you have people like shifting borders or whatever, and then you add to that the complication kind of post-pandemic of, you know, some people have to be on site, some people can work remotely. There's that kind of finding the individual need linked to the company need. What's your biggest challenge, do you think, from that point of view of making sure that everybody's taken care of, I suppose, and you're getting the best out of your people and your people are getting the best experience they can with Mercury?
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned, the pandemic there for us, we were slightly different because the project still needed to be built.
Yeah.
So it is hard to say people work from home. So a lot of our workforce were actually still in work. And in the pandemic times where the flights were cancelled, or it was becoming, you just couldn't, like, you couldn't come home because you'd had to go to a local centre in Germany to get COVID tested to be able to get a flight back to Ireland, and you'd have to do similar. And if by any chance you'd managed to get COVID over that period, then you'd be stuck in your home country and not go back to work. And as I said, in some roles you can't. So if you're a health and safety officer, you need to be down on site. So there are certain roles that are so difficult or challenging that you can't do from home. So what we would have had over that period is people committing to stay in country and not getting home then to see their loved ones on their rotation. So there were some people that stayed in country for nearly the guts of 12 months and not getting home. So they brought challenges for us, but what we saw is, and we've been looking at this for kind of since before COVID, Mercury's been different and our industry in that it's not a one size fits all. So we would have, working with yourselves and PepTalk, seen that, some companies can bring everyone together and have one big town hall. That's been a challenge for us because we can't get everyone physically together, and there's not a big meeting room on sites that can hold up to 200 people. So you're trying to get everyone at different times, and there's different shifts, night shifts, day shifts. So we've identified that pre-pandemic that it isn't a one size fits all, and that we need to be going out to our people in all of our jurisdictions to see what works for them. What works for them in Germany might not work for the workforce we have in Spain, and looking at whatever you need is there.
Yeah, and I mean, you would have been the person who would have brought PepTalk into Mercury pre-pandemic. And that was very much kind of your thinking at the time, wasn't it? It was that idea of addressing the individual need as well as the collective. What do you think looking at, like, coming out of the pandemic and moving on, and there's a lot of conversation around the challenges for leaders in the future world of work, and all these kind of different things that the world has changed from an employment point of view. What do you think is the biggest obstacle you guys are facing kind of for the future or the immediate future going forward?
Look, getting the right people is a challenge, and attracting them into the industry. So when you go out to the schools and colleges and you're trying to chat to young people, and we try to go out as early as possible, like you think primary school and you're thinking, God, they're too young to go out and chat to them, but that's really neat where you need to go and start planting the seeds, because when you look at young children now or next generation, they all want to be influencers, or they want to do, all of these new jobs that are coming, working in the cloud and all of this fun stuff. And it's trying to attract people to get into getting out and seeing what's ahead in the construction, because it's so exciting. So that's probably our biggest challenge, is attracting people into the industry.
It's an interesting one, and it is a challenge, isn't it? And I suppose the workforce that are coming out now from school and from college probably have different expectations of jobs than we would have had when, we were much more likely to do what we were told and learn our trade. Whereas people are coming out now and they're expecting kind of management positions, and they're expecting like fast track promotion. One of the things that you guys have done to kind of help with that, and obviously, PepTalk have tried to assist in that, is that kind of communication to the individual about, and the team about what is, what's important for you in the moment, in the now, in the looking after yourself, looking after your health, bringing your team together, creating more engagement, that kind of stuff. What was it about PepTalk that brought you guys to us, or what was it that attracted you, or has kept us there for the last 4 years?
So with us, what we found is our employees loved a bit of competition. So, when there was different things running on the app where you could do the step challenge and things like that, we can see that we get great engagement, and that's what our teams like to do. They're all in different places, and there's a bit of competition between them all, which is great, and that works for us. We've had great success with any of the speakers we've brought in. And people are, they're engaged and say, well, I'd like to hear someone in that area or that field. And I know just recently there we've been working in terms of the check-ins, and they've gone really well to see where people are at now, and keep, monitoring and working with our health and safety teams on all of the projects to get all of that information to help us build to what we do next year then, where to focus our attention on with our employees. With
the challenge for leaders, we've talked a bit about what the future holds in the recruitment and whatever else, but one of the big challenges I find in a lot of the companies that I work with, and obviously I do a lot of leadership stuff for PepTalk, but one of the things I find really interesting is that there's often a disconnect between senior leadership and the people on the ground, and that there's kind of like a chasm between the two. And I know you guys do a lot of work to kind of, for the senior leadership to be faces that everybody recognizes and connects with, and you do kind of try to have an environment where everybody gets an opportunity to have a voice. And the check-ins and the team talks and all that kind of stuff are things I know that you guys use to gauge where your people are at. What do you think is the next kind of big win for you guys in landing? You talk about Mercury, like the potential for it's constantly expanding. What are what's the next big win for you guys as leaders in creating a better workplace for Mercury, do you think?
So one of the things we found is a lot of our senior leaders started at junior level. So they've worked their way up. So a large percentage of the Mercury senior management have come from a trade background. They served their time at Mercury as an apprentice, and they've worked to where they are today. So they've been at the junior levels and they know what it's like. So it's important for them to make sure that things are passed down through the teams. So I think showing our teams that, you know, that person that you're reporting into, they've done that journey, and that constant communication between the teams. One of the areas that we're looking at is around that communication. Like, I think it's so important, and it's been hard to do during COVID times, the limit of people in a room. But we're doing quarterly town halls, but they're led from the top. So each, we've a number of business units, and each business unit would have a senior management team. They're responsible for actually getting everyone together for those town halls and asking for that feedback so that we can share it. They can share it back to ourselves, and we can put the changes in place. And there's a certain things, like we would have launched benefits package for our employees this year. That was a big area to cover in the town halls, or if there's something on cyber security, or if there's a certain safety initiative in that quarter, things like that, we can also get that message to them. But the employees are getting to see their managers talk face to face, not just sending out an email, because again, our workforce aren't sitting at a laptop all day. They're down on site building the projects. So when they get up to their desk, they're prioritising what they go to see in their inbox. And
you guys use the PepTalk app to communicate some of that information to your people, don't you? Yeah, so we have an intranet page and then the app as well. So we push things out that way to our employees. The world of HR is constantly changing, and I've been doing a lot of interviews recently with people who would be kind of in the Forbes, that have this top influencers in the world type thing, and talking to some really incredible people in that world. And it's funny how there's so much focus now on teams, and it's something that we kind of passionately believe in, that the individual contributes to the team experience, and that if you can create that team, you're automatically on the road to success. And obviously, from my work in sport, it's something that I would have always believed in, that you recognize the individual, but you create a team. Yeah. Is there anything that you could kind of explain, maybe actually share with me something about what you guys have done through PepTalk that maybe has helped to create a team, bring the team together? Yeah, well, the competitions are great. Like, we'll reach out and say there's a certain steps challenge or whatever is happening at this time, or there was like an Olympics or the Euros and different things like that, and they really get involved. You can see the competition between them, and then like you're out on site and there's a buzz between them, because they're keeping an eye on what the other projects, and a lot of the time they may not even know the individuals in the other teams, because Mercury is so big in people in different jurisdictions. But you can see even the new people coming in. So we always have new people joining Mercury on the different projects, and as soon as they come in, they're included into the team competition, and it's a good introduction to them to see that that's what's happening. Is there anything from your perspective, from what you've seen with the way HR has changed in the last 15 years or so, is there anything that you kind of see as being, this is the next thing, this is going to be the thing that's going to make us stand out? So we were 50 years in business this year, and we've mentioned it already, COVID, and people couldn't get together. We weren't able to have any social events. There was no Christmas parties. New people were joining, they were coming in to do their day's work, and that was it. So given that it was a big milestone anniversary, we reached out to our employees to ask what they'd like, and almost everyone had came back and said they'd like a social event and a football event.
And then we asked where they like it, and it was organised in Frankfurt, but we ran regionals. And that was, for us, has given us, what we want to do going forward, and seeing how much our employees enjoyed it and bringing them all together. It was lacking for the last couple of years, no fault of our own, it was purely COVID, but to see that, people are still talking about it today, the fun that was there, and to, see that the effect, the culture of Mercury, and that's what we're about, is bringing people together. So yes, obviously you've got to do your day-to-day work, but to make sure that we are enjoying those sides of things with employees as well, and having the summer barbecues or the Christmas dinners at the moment. I think that's really important going forward.
Yeah, we've had a big kind of shift, I suppose, in the way we deliver our content in the last couple of months and for 2023, and we're moving kind of, as we're moving kind of to, there's a desktop version as well as an app, and it's kind of giving people a different way to access our content and our product. Do you think that's going to help you in the work you're doing?
Yes, we have such a diverse workforce. We have almost 400 apprentices here in Ireland to, as I said, over 3,000 employees. So ranging engineers, support functions. So they certainly will, we would find that, their apprentices would be of a younger generation. So they're probably more used to going on an app of a phone, but maybe some of the older employees might say, I actually prefer to do it on the desktop. It's easier. I don't like having loads of apps on my phone. Yeah. So absolutely, giving people more options to log on to, the better.
Joanne, that's awesome. And I think, I'm very conscious of our time, so maybe I'll just ask you one more question. But you have, you're very much somebody who likes to be in touch with your people, which kind of is one of the reasons why you guys are so successful. What's your kind of big kind of wish for 2023 with regards to bringing the teams together more?
For us, it's asking them, what do they want? There's no point in just arriving in January saying, this is what we're doing, this is there, now use it, or that's it, there's nothing else on offer. Is to tie in with our teams, as I said, the town halls, what do they want, what would they like to see, and we can feed it back in. And we know that one size doesn't fit all, so it might be a variety of things in all of our different projects. But that's what the employees want at the end of the day, and if that's what helps them be happy in their day-to-day work, and they go home safe and that, then let's ask them and find out what they want.
Fantastic. And I don't think we can, as leaders, I don't think we can do any more than ask people what they want and try to deliver that. So continued success. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
The first of many great conversations in this series. Joanne Cluxton, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.